Hi ladies and gentlemen, this is a Numeric Citizen here. In today's video, let's talk about WWDC 2023. This is a video about my expectations and what I'll be looking for this upcoming week. Let's get started. I think this video is important to every Apple user like me, which is heavily invested in Apple ecosystem. And this week is a very special week for all Apple fans around the world, where there's a lot of news coming up from Apple and following their keynote. So I want to spend some time with you today to share my thoughts, expectations, and a few things along the way. The first thing I would like to talk about maybe is the keynote. The keynote is the event that will kick off the WWDC week. And as you probably know right now, the keynote will be in person, as well as I expect to have many pre-recorded segments in order to have an event which is a hybrid event where you will be able to see very polished videos about new products and maybe new versions of their operating systems to go along with them. And so overall, I expect a very high quality, maybe a bit longer than usual, because the rumors are to the effect that it will be a jam-packed keynote. And for that, I would expect the event, the keynote, to last longer than the usual 2-hour keynote. If the headset is going to be released or announced, expect to have a few game demos. And the reason for that is simple. I think that one of the use cases for this headset would be gaming. And for that, I would expect them to have some people on stage to demo their latest or their unique software with use on the headset. And the headset will probably be part of a One More Thing segment, a segment that Steve Jobs used to talk, to present in the past. And since then, Apple did use the One More Thing segment a few times. And this is usually used to present a new software or a new piece of hardware. And since the headset seems to be a given, what is the best way to experience the headset is to be going to the hands-on area that Apple is rumored to have built for the keynote. So people will probably have to move after the keynote to experience the headset for themselves. So that's the keynote. I expect to be very high quality event, and I can't wait to watch this specific keynote. Now let's talk about the Apple Rumors Hub. The Apple Rumors Hub is a website that I have put together. I've been working on that for quite a while. And this is a collection of all the rumors that are published from the usual publications or websites like Mac Rumors, for example. And the idea behind the Apple Hub, the Apple Rumors Hub, is to help customers and future buyers of Apple gear to be informed about what is coming up, and this could influence their buying decisions. And also, it's to have a overall look of what's coming up from Apple, both in hardware and software and services. So you'll see here in this on the main page, there is a reminder, a visual reminder of Apple product lines as we speak now, and also a few bookmarks and artworks that are reflecting the current state of the Apple Rumors environment, as well as a timeline. The first one is, those are collapsible, and this is the first one, which is a visual timeline of what's coming up in the near future. And also there's a detailed timeline, which is a table which will give you an idea in a few months or years what is expected to be coming up from Apple. And finally, you'll find the a few tiles here that are dividing all the rumors by main product lines, like the iPhone, the Mac, the iPad, wearables, and also software and miscellaneous. So that's the Apple Rumors Hub. I'll share my link in the show notes so that you can look at it for yourself. So my expectations about this upcoming keynote. There is two categories, one being from the hardware side and one being for the software side. First, the M2 15-inch MacBook Air seems to be a given. The rumors are pointing to the machine to be revealed this week, and I'm pretty much excited for this one because this is where I'm planning to upgrade my current M1 MacBook Air that I'm using that I've been using for quite a while. And now I just want to upgrade to a bigger screen, but in a lightweight design and package, and maybe get a longer battery life. Not that I'm sad about the current battery life, but we never have enough of the battery life. So the 15-inch MacBook Air seems to be a given. There's also rumors about a possible Mac update, Mac Studio update, and I think it makes sense. And by the way, I don't think we're going to see Apple Silicon version of the Mac Pro. I don't know why it's getting long before we get to see that. The Apple Silicon transition announced by Apple, they stated that it would take about 2 years. And we are currently much more than 2 years later, and we're still waiting for the Mac Pro version with the Apple Silicon. But I think the Mac Studio with a updated M2 Max and M2 Ultra could be in the cards, and I think it would make sense. Apple likes to have a discrete product lines where you can buy the Mac itself, and you can choose which display you want to buy with it. And I think this is in line with their current strategy. And so for me, the Mac Studio update is pretty much possible. And the last thing that we are expecting, and rumors has been pointing toward that, is the revealing of the Reality Pro, or whatever they are calling the headset, the AR VR headset. This would be the first real new hardware platform under the Tim Cook leadership since Steve Jobs passed away. And I don't know, I'm not into the headset thing. I never really bought one in the past, and I'm not sure I'm going to buy any of those in the future either, because in fact, I'm not sure that I want to see this world where we all have these headsets on our head and trying to do things with our hands right in the middle of the hair, and I'm not really into that. That being said, it will be interesting to see how Apple is pitching the story for the developers and also the end users. Obviously, those will be early adopters of such technology, and really, I would like to see how Apple will actually position the device, which type of use cases they are envisioning for this. And we heard about the possible FaceTime version for this headset, and also we could see maybe Apple Maps to be updated to take advantage of the augmented reality side of the headset. Games are certainly something that is going to be big on such device, and maybe movies consumption or content consumption in general would be probably interesting with such a device. So we're going to wait until the event itself, and yeah, it will be interesting to see how we get to install the software on this device, on which device it is tied to. I'm guessing it will be the iPhone, so the installation process for new apps on the headset will probably be from the iPhone, just like we used to do in the early days of the Apple Watch. Yeah, so this is the way I think software will be installed and managed. It will be interesting to see how we type on such device, if there is any role with the iPhone being nearby. Yeah, it's a lot of unanswered questions, and it will be very interesting to see where it's going from now on. So a new hardware platform means a new set of software tools or developers tools, and it was interesting. It will be interesting to see what Apple has in store on this side of the story. My guess is that Xcode will play a major role for developing a new software for the headset. Also, we could see maybe a few new apps very specifically designed to run on the headset, but that don't have any counterparts on the iPhone, for example. And we'll probably see more new content type specifically designed for to be consumed on the device, on the headset. On the rest of the story about the software, we have to consider that a lot of Apple operating systems are more or less in a mature state, where the Mac, for example, or the iPhone, those are pretty much major operating systems. But that being said, we could see the introduction of more interactive widgets on the iPhone and the iPad. So as you know, the widgets we've got today are more or less passive, where you just tap on them and then it will open up the corresponding app into a specific context. And that's pretty much it. So we could see more interactive widget coming up on the iPhone and the iPad. On the Apple Watch, there is the thing called glances, which were available up until watchOS 3.0, if I remember well. And those could make a comeback also to kind of kickstart new apps development on the watch itself. Because as you know, there's a kind of a lagging development on the Apple Watch. Many major players kind of drop support for the Apple Watch for some reason, and maybe the fact that Apple could reintroduce glances, maybe it would help some developers to come back to the platform and then build a very specific glance for their application or services. The other thing that we've heard in the rumors are that we could get a redesigned control center. I don't know what it means to be frank, but yeah, the control centers would be tweaked or redesigned. And also, there's maybe some need to have a few tweaks and even redesign to the Stage Manager on the iPad. There's a lot of people or tech pundits that don't really like how it interacts when you use the iPad with Stage Manager enabled and with a external display hooked on the iPad. So yeah, Stage Manager. And the other thing I'd like to see maybe on the macOS side is a redesign of the notification center, and the fact that we are limited to using widgets on the right side of the screen within the notification center, for me, makes no sense at all, because we used to have the dashboard in the early days of macOS, and I think Apple should simply reintroduce the dashboard and then liberate the widgets so we can use them wherever we want on the screen. this is probably the most thing I want to have in the next version of macOS. A redesign notification center and a redesign the way we use the widgets on this platform. So that's it for my expectations for this week's WWDC of 2023. I hope you have a great week. If you are a developer, I hope you will get all your wishes fulfilled. And also enjoy the show, enjoy this week. Thanks for watching, and see you guys for another one. Bye.